When I was 12, I came to the conclusion that everyone in the world, including my own family, was against me. I was never a problem child. My parents sure treated me like one. For example, I used to need to be home by 5 p.m. every day. This clearly restricted my amount of playtime outdoors. I wasn't allowed to have friends over to play at the house, nor was I allowed to go over to anyone else's. I had to finish homework directly after I came home from school, no matter how long it took. My parents refused to buy me video games and forced me to read books and write a report on them to prove I actually read it. Now, even though those rules I listed above were quite frustrating to me as a child, they weren't what upset me the most. What really hurt me was the lack of compassion on behalf of my parents. My mother was a bitter woman who always made me feel guilty of accidents or mistakes I've made. My family only one emotion, frustration. The only time he spoke to me was when he screamed at me for seeing poor test scores or beating me for misbehaving. But enough about them. Let's talk about my school psychologist. For his own privacy, we'll call him Dr. Tanner. Like most junior high schools, a psychologist is always available on campus during school hours to assist any students in need of counseling, whether it is emotional, academic, social, behavioral, etc. To be honest, I have never seen any students talking with Dr. Tanner. Every day I would walk past his office on my way to the cafeteria and peek through his door's little window. He would always be alone in there, working on some paperwork. I guess that most kids were too afraid to speak about their problems to an adult who was practically a stranger. For this reason, it took me 3 weeks to muster up enough courage to go to his office. March 2nd, 1993 was the day I decided to voice my troubles to Dr. Tanner. During lunch break, I stood in front of his door and knocked. Through the window, I could see him raise his head, smile, and motion for me to come in. I did. He greeted me by introducing himself and asking me for my full name. Dr. Tanner was a very soft-spoken man who seemed to radiate kindness. In less than 30 minutes, I rambled to Dr. Tanner about how my parents warned me and how they didn't care about me at all. After a while, my voice began to quiver and I stopped speaking. The psychologist listened patiently to my whole spiel, arms folded and head nodding. I have expected him to begin talking about how everything I just said was untrue and that my parents loved me dearly and blah blah blah. But he didn't. Dr. Tanner leaned towards me with a grin on his face and said, "You know, I am the best school psychologist in the world. I promise we will fix this." I rolled my eyes. "Okay, but how?" I asked. "I have my ways," he replied. "I'm a man of my word. I promise that within just 1 month, the relationship between you and your parents will change for the better, forever." After a brief pause, he continued, "Although I do need you to make me a promise. You have to promise me that you'll come back to my office after school tomorrow, and that you won't tell anyone that we had this conversation today. It'll be our little secret." I promised. The following day, I returned to Dr. Tanner after school. It was around 4 p.m. when I entered his office. After a warm welcome, he asked me to have a seat in front of his desk once again. Upon sitting down, I watched Dr. Tanner close the blinds of the door's tiny window. "There," he smiled. "Now we have all the privacy we need." We began to talk We began to talk about my likes and dislikes, my favorite subjects in school, my least favorite teachers, and things of the like. About an hour into the conversation, Dr. Tanner offered me a soft drink. I gladly took the offer, considering my parents never allowed me to drink soda. Dr. Tanner reached over to his mini fridge and fidgeted around before sitting down 2 open cans of soda on the desk. Afterwards, we continued to talk about what was going on in my life, but it wasn't long before I passed out from whatever drugs Dr. Tanner placed in my drink. It took me a minute or so to adjust to my blurred vision upon waking, and when I did, I had no idea what to think. I was handcuffed to my bed, and my mouth was sealed shut with duct tape. I immediately began to panic, squirmed, and tugging at the cuffs, but gave up soon after. My eyes widened in disbelief as we were looking around the room. There were posters of superheroes pinned up along the walls and photographs of famous athletes on shelves. In the middle of the room was an old television and Super Nintendo. Various game cartridges stacked alongside it. I didn't know what to think. Here I am in a room filled with items most kids would die to play with. I would have probably cried from joy hadn't I had been handcuffed to a bed frame. My stomach sank once again as the door opened and Mr. Tanner walked inside. See, he sat down on the edge of on the bed. "Now listen," he said. "Remember that I'm here to help you, and I would never hurt you, okay?" Dr. Tanner gently removed the tape from my mouth, and then the cuffs from my hands. My first instinct was to begin crying, but something about Dr. Tanner made me feel safe. He smiled at me. "You're going to be staying here for a long time," he continued, "and during this time, you're allowed to play with any toys in this room while I'm here at home. But when I leave the house, I'll need to cuff one of your hands back to the bed. You can still watch the television, but I want you only to watch the news channel when I'm away." I sat in silence, still trying to process the information he had given me. "So," Dr. Tanner yipped, sounding at me, You go ahead and knock yourself out. I'll be back when it's time for dinner." He got up from the bed, walked across the room, and clicked the TV's power button on and locked the door behind him. Several more minutes passed before I realized that Dr. Tanner wasn't joking. All else for me to do was pick up the Nintendo and play Mario until nightfall. At about 7 p.m., Dr. Tanner returned to our room carrying 2 plates of mashed potatoes and chicken strips. I finally got up the courage to ask him how long I'd be staying in this room. "Well, about a month," he replied. "Give or take a few weeks, I have some work I need to do." The following morning, I woke to Dr. Tanner's hand patting my head. "Hey, bud, you don't have to wake up right now if you don't want, but I'm going to need to put this back on," he whispered, clamping a cold steel handcuff onto my wrist. I gazed up at him. He was wearing a collared shirt and slacks, a coat draped over his shoulders, and a briefcase at his side. He looked just as he always did when I saw him around school. Before leaving, he placed the TV remote next to me and told me to turn it on and watch the news. The first thing I saw upon turning it on was a breaking news segment. An important-looking police officer stood in the podium, surrounded by people with microphones. I began viewing halfway through his speech. A statewide Amber Alert has been issued as of this morning, with several investigators bringing towards identifying several potential abductors, but as of right now, there is not much evidence. Faculty members state that the boy has last been seen around 4 or 5 in the morning on. I began to feel nauseous as a photograph of me appeared on screen. It was my yearbook photo from last year. catchings or photographs displaying my name and age, my school, and my town. Above my picture were alternative titles. If I began search for a missing child and can be so suspect unknown and potential runaway. The live footage continued, and two figures I soon recognized as my mom and dad stood in front of the podium. Both appeared to have red eyes. Tears streamed down my face as she took hold of the microphone. I'd never seen so much emotion come from my mother before, as she wept on my television, stuttering on sentences as, "Please return my boy back to me. I'm so sorry, and please come home to us." On front to the microphone, and I spent attitude to be stone cold. Without two tears in his eyes, he pleaded with the world to bring his son home back safely and begged for my forgiveness. I know I haven't been the best father, but dang it, but god damn it, do I wish I had it now. Please bring my boy back. I turned on the power shortly after. My emotions were mixed, for I had never once seen my father cry. I felt miserable that my parents were being put through so much, but at the same time felt relief. I now know how much my mom and dad loved me. 94 weeks passed, and Dr. Chanley had been treated with the utmost respect. He leaves me in the morning, cuffed to a bed frame, but returns in the morning to take lunch and dinner with me, talk and play games. I would have never guessed how good Mr. Tanner was at Monopoly and Scrabble. But one morning when Dr. Tanner woke me before heading out to work, I noticed a stern look in his face. I also realized it was 3 hours early than he usually wakes me. "You need to watch the news today. No exceptions. I want to keep the television on all day and pay close attention," he said grimly. I, of course, complied and watched him exit the room. After 2 hours later, a breaking news segment erupted the toothpaste commercial I was watching at the time. Human remains found. Two staunchly men stood aside one another against speaking. "We are displeased to get such important news this morning regarding our missing child case from earlier this month." One man bowed his head, with one speaking, he's shuffling through some papers. He continued, "Remains of a body have been found in a garbage bag beneath a highway overpass. The body appears to be that of a child, although not much of it is left. The body has been decapitated, and not much has been burnt to ash and bone." The screen shifted over to a helicopter view of the freeway, with some police cars scattering near the bottom of the overpass. The man's voice could be heard. Within the police bag found a junior high school identification card labeled as such. The screen showed the school ID card. I always kept my backpack. The plastic was soft and melted away, but my photograph name were still intact. After two of the men dismissed themselves,